At the time of this recording, Pikachu EX is considered the best deck in the game, but not far behind it is Mewtwo EX. This is pretty much my main deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket, partially because it's really good and partially because it's really hard to get cards, and this is the only really good deck I have. But today, I wanted to cover this build of Mewtwo EX, one of the strongest decks in Pokemon TCG Pocket right now. I'm Jeff from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's go through this Mewtwo EX list that I have been using for the past couple of weeks. Really like where it's at right now. We're going to start with Mewtwo EX, where it's got 2 attacks. It's a basic Pokemon with 150 HP, which is absolutely massive, and it's got 2 really strong attacks for 1 Psychic and a Colorless. The Psychic Sphere does 50 damage, and you can boost that with Giovanni to 60, where at which point you're going to be knocking out a lot of basic Pokemon, the non-bonus prize ones, which can be very shocking to your opponent and screw up their game plans. And then its second attack, Side Drive, for 2 Psychic and 2 Colorless, does 150 damage, and you discard 2 Psychic Energy from this Pokemon. Now, discarding 2 Psychic Energy does suck, but it's not the end of the world because we also have Gardevoir here. We've got a 2/2/2 line of Gardevoir. We've got 2 Mew EX as well. And the Gardevoir here, it's not really here to attack. 3 energy for 60 damage is not good, but Psy Shadow is a amazing ability that lets you accelerate 1 Psychic Energy from your energy zone and attach it to the Psychic Pokemon in the active spot. And this can help you cover that extra energy that Mewtwo needs in order to swing for Side Drive on consecutive turns. If you happen to build up 2 Gardevoirs on your bench, which is highly unlikely, but I have done it before, you can accelerate an extra 2 energy, and you don't really need that, but it is a thing you can do with this deck. So Gardevoir is the backbone to Mewtwo's attacks, where Mewtwo can swing for crazy damage and Gardevoir can keep the momentum going with extra energy. As some secondary Pokemon in this list, I started out with just the Mewtwo and the Gardevoir, but felt like it needed a little extra oomph. And so the 2 pieces we have here is 1 copy of Jinx, where it's a basic Pokemon, 80 HP, so it's a little higher than your standard basic, and which is going to help you tank hits here and there. And its attack Psychic for 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Colorless does 30 damage and 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. This is great, especially against decks that have attackers that attach a lot of energy, like say an Articuno or something like that, where you're able to hit them for quite a bit while only coughing up a single prize, enough to soften up a lot of targets so that Mewtwo can come in and knock them out with Psychic Sphere without having to discard any energy. So really nice secondary attacker here. And then we have Meowth, where it's 60 HP, it does only 10 damage, but Payday lets you also draw a card when you attack, and this is absolutely massive. When in a deck with only 20 cards and you can just draw an extra card, you're drawing an extra 10%, an extra 5% of your deck each time you attack. Absolutely massive. And because this is a slower deck that requires a lot of setup and you need to draw your cards so that you can get your pieces, just having an extra turn or 2 where Meowth can draw cards is massive. We have Professor's Research here to draw 2 cards, 1 copy of Giovanni to give us an extra 10 damage boost on our attacks. In particular, that extra 10 damage with Psychic Sphere can be enough to knock out a lot of the smaller basics in the game. 1 copy of Sabrina, which is our only gusting option in Pokemon TCG Pocket right now, lets you force your opponent to switch their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. Can be a really nice way of hitting targets that your opponent does not want to get hit at this point in time. 2 copies of X Speed lets you reduce your opponent's active retreat cost by 1, and if you burn both at the same time, you can reduce it by 2, which means you can retreat the Mewtwo or the Gardevoir without having to discard any energy. 1 copy of Potion, so that we heal 20 damage from one of our Pokemon, and then 2 Pokeballs lets us grab a random basic Pokemon from our deck, put it into our hand, and then 1 copy of Red Card. The only hand disruption we have in the deck allows us to force our opponent to shuffle their hand back into their deck and draw 3 cards. This is a really strong deck, but it is slow, especially when the best deck in the game is really fast. It can be a bit of a nightmare to set up. But once you get Mewtwo and Gardevoir rolling, you just plow through like almost everything in the game. And you don't necessarily have to have Gardevoir set up as soon as possible. Mewtwo can swing here and there, Jinx can swing, Meowth can help you draw extra cards. So you do have a bit more time to actually get rolling and set up your end game state of Mewtwo just smashing for 150 damage every turn. All right, let's get to these matches. And we are going second in this matchup. And full disclosure, because I don't have a proper camera rig on my computer for my phone, I forgot to record the sound. I didn't realize you had to do a special thing on iPhone to record sound. So unfortunately, no in-game match sound. So you'll just have to deal with my voice and the vibes of the lo-fi music. We are up here against a dark deck with looks like Nidoking and Nidoqueen. I don't fully remember what happened. I recorded these a little while back. So I'm going to talk through these as best I can. We see a Nidoran and a Muck in the background. Or is that Grimer? Grimer, yeah. And right now, I am looking for a Ralts so that we can get our energy acceleration rolling. Unfortunately, we didn't hit off the research. We draw another Mewtwo. That's not what we wanted to see. There's a 50% chance. I guess it could have been Ralts, Mewtwo, or Meowth at that point. I put down a second Mewtwo, and in the immediate term, I'm trying to... I think this is something you should always do, is try and force your opponent to take 4 prizes. Unless you're running an entirely single prize deck. So right now the calculus is potentially forcing them to try and take out 2 Mewtwo's, which is tough, even for a dark deck that is hitting for weakness. And Mewtwo does get carved up by some of the dark decks. I think in particular the Ekans one, or not the Ekans, the Arbok deck can be really bad. So let's go and try and dig and find ourselves a Ralts here. We get a Meowth and a Pokeball, and I think off the Pokeball we should get Ralts at this point. Yes, we do. And we could... Now, if we don't have a Giovanni here, so we can't one-hit KO this Nidoran. So I end up choosing to go burn both of my X speed so that we can keep the energy on the Mewtwo while also drawing for more cards here. And so we end up retreating. We'll go bring in Meowth. And Meowth for 1... Oh, Meow, we also heal a little bit. Not sure if I actually needed to heal there, but getting the Mewtwo up a little bit so that it potentially misses a breakpoint later could be nice. So we go and pop them for 1. And that gets them down to 50, which means unless they heal, we can actually knock them out with Mewtwo on the following turn, if I should choose to do that. So they go and evolve the Nidoran up the bench into a Nidorina, and they put an energy on there. And I'm guessing they don't have the evolution yet, which is why they've held off on putting that extra energy on. So now we get our Kirlia. We've got our Gardevoir in hand as well. And I make an interesting choice here. I do put the energy on the Mewtwo. We can attack with the Mewtwo. I end up drawing another card, and I'm not sure I agree with that, because we could have just gone in with the Mewtwo, knocked them out. And yeah, so maybe we are playing with our food a little bit here. Watching this back, yeah, we could have just retreated. We will have the Gardevoir up on the following turn, so we would get 4 on the next turn. So we did keep that Nidoran alive unnecessarily, which is okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. They are going to get a KO here, though, which is unfortunate. Yeah, with that poison, brings it down to 40. So maybe we could have cleaned that up a little bit and knocked out the Nidoran with the Mewtwo. That's okay, though. We're going to come back with the Mewtwo. We've got our Gardevoir engine rolling, and now we can blast the Weezing no problem. We do pull a Serena, which could be nice to flip something out of the active. And I do put down the Jinx just in case they try and Serena like the Gardevoir or something. I can give them the Jinx instead, keeping our energy acceleration moving. We get to accelerate with Psyshadow with Gardevoir and attach from hand. So we are able to now Psychic, I think it's called Psychic Drive, Psycho Drive, one of those two. We get the KO on the Weezing, and now we just need to stay alive for a couple more turns here and carve them up. They get the Nidorina up. And yeah, I'm very much concerned for the Nidoqueen Nidoking combo here. I don't think the Muck is going to be a factor at this point. Getting 3 Dark Energy onto that Muck is... They're not going to live long enough, especially with Mewtwo just carving carving out 150 damage per hit at this point. So I think the thing to keep in mind here is that if one, it could get dicey if they knock out this Mewtwo EX, and I have to, it's going to take 2 turns to get another Mewtwo completely rolling here. So I'm calculating out now, do I just want to keep Mew in here swinging again when there's a pretty decent chance that Mewtwo gets knocked out on the following turn, and then I'm going to need some time to figure out what we do next. So instead, I choose the hard retreat. I lose both the energy, but we can accelerate 2 energy right away over to Jinx, and then we attack for... and I added the Giovanni there as well. I don't think I needed to do that because we're doing 60 and not... Yeah, 50 would have been enough. Yeah, doing that extra 10 damage was not going to matter here. I burned it anyway. I think it wasn't going to matter in this match. Well, it might have mattered later. But right now, not going to happen. And if, assuming they don't get to Nidoqueen, and I don't think they're going to get to Nidoqueen at this point because I'm pretty sure Nidoqueen's attack is not 1 or even 2 energy. So they keep Nidoran out. We're able to tank a hit with the Jinx. And now, what we can do, because Jinx was able to stall for time and tank that hit, is that we can attach energy to Mewtwo, the fresh one, and we can just hard retreat Jinx, accelerate that second energy from Gardevoir to the fresh Mewtwo, and now we are in much better position to tank a hit from potentially the Nidoking coming up, assuming they are able to get Nidoking up. So with that 50, the Psychic Sphere, Side Drive is the name of that second move. All right. So we swing for 50. Jinx did its job for just getting in some chip damage, so Mewtwo can come in and swing for only 2 energy, and the next thing they get is going to get blasted. So let's see if they get the Nidoking up. We're in a pretty good spot at this point. I'm pretty sure we can tank whatever hit they have coming up next. If they Sabrina us, I'm pretty sure I mixed up Sabrina and Serena. Serena is a card in the proper Pokemon, well, the original Pokemon TCG that does a different thing. Anyway, they still swing for a massive 60 damage on that stage 1, but it's not going to be enough. Gardevoir is going to accelerate with Psy Shadow, and will attach from hand, or the Energy Zone, and Mewtwo can blast this Nidoking for 150 damage, and we take the win. I thought this was a really good example, this match, of showing all of the pieces. We do get the Gardevoir line to accelerate energy, Mewtwo as our big attacker, but then also showing off the capabilities of Meowth and Jinx there, where Meowth was able to draw a little extra, and then Jinx being able to swing in the middle there and tank a hit and get that attacker down so that Mewtwo could come in and swing for only 2 energy to finish them off. And yeah, I think in retrospect, the one play where I drew an extra card when I probably could have just knocked them out with Mewtwo, in retrospect, I probably would have just brought in Mewtwo and made that match a little less drawn out than it ended up being. But still a good match, and we'll take that win. GG's. We kick right in. We are going first, which is kind of unfortunate, but we do get our Ralts down. We've got a couple Pokeballs, so we should be able to get our engine rolling. Not sure how much I was coughing in the first video. I took some cough medicine in between takes, and I hope I'm less coughy. I tried to record this one, and I was coughing a lot. And I'm like, yeah, we just got to record this one again. So we hit the Meowth, which makes it even more likely that we're going to find our Mewtwo piece here. We get a Jinx. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. And now we've got a 50% shot of hitting a Mewtwo here. We get another Ralts. Okay, so we have to make some choices here. I put down the Jinx, potentially as a secondary attacker, and I think a Meowth would be good here. And I'm going to say right now, like, having just watched this back, I do make some pretty bad plays here that I'm not proud of, but we can talk through it. I can tell you the rationale, what I think. Okay, got Misty. Oh, the most degenerate card in the game. What was going through my head when I made the choices that I made, and what I would do now watching this back. It's interesting. Like, it's very easy to say, like, oh, when you're watching somebody else play, like, oh, you should have done this, this, and this. But when you're in the moment, you can get caught up in some of your lines of play. And like right here, I should have gone with Meowth. I should have gone Meowth, attach energy to Meowth, burn the X speed, get Meowth into the active, swing for 1, or for 10 damage, and then also draw an extra card. Our hand sucks right now. And bringing in Jinx to do nothing, like Jinx into Sabrina to try and stall for time, here is not an effective use of our moves or our energy here. So I very much regret this line of play. Yeah, when you're playing these games, and it can be very easy to not be able to see all of the plays in the moment. It's a lot easier when you're outside and watching it after the fact. This happens when I'm doing Pokemon TCG live content, where I'm editing the video and I'm like, oh, I totally did this wrong, or I could have played this better. But sometimes it's good to leave that stuff in here, because you might be able to learn something. And I hope that these are mistakes that everybody makes. And hopefully, now I've got another opportunity to make right here, right? Attaching a second energy to Jinx and swinging for 30 damage. And I thought about it right there. Like, I could still at least draw a card, and then we've got Jinx built up when we can attach with one turn. I'm thinking through my options here, and I go with the Jinx. So this was not good. Swinging for 30 against the Snom does not move this match forward in any way, shape, or form. So that was a terrible attack. I should have used the X speed, get the energy on Meowth, and just draw cards, because right now our hand sucks. And there's not a lot we can do here. And now we get our opponent to have a big swing, and they just heal most of that damage off of the Snom anyway. So, yeah, not looking great here. I think the potential saving grace in this matchup is the Lapras. Lapras is really tough to build up with 3 energy. They do have Misty, and it does suck that they bricked the first Misty, so we can pray that they don't hit on the second one. And right now their hand is looking we know one of those is not a Misty. So potentially some time here to figure things out, but we're gonna have to figure it out quick, because we are getting poison damage here. They're doing 50 plus poison, so we still don't have a Kirlia. We don't have a Mewtwo. I finally decide to bail out and pull out the Meowth, but like, had I gone with Meowth in the first place, I could have gotten like 3 extra cards here instead of just the 1 that we end up drawing, because now Meowth is pretty much guaranteed to get KO'd. So we put on the second Ralts here, just potentially trying to stall for time, make this a 4-prize game. We finally get the Mewtwo, but we still don't have a Kirlia, and we can't get our Gardevoir engine rolling. And now they're going to start building up the Lapras. And this is something that I don't necessarily agree with, because I don't know if Poliwhirl or Poliwrath is any good, but you can go with the Frostmoth, which at least has Sleep as an option, and you can squeeze out some extra damage there, and at that point force it to be a 4-prize game. Although, yes, and like, if I go with Snom, then I'm kind of hoping I can hit Misty at some point later. We end up bringing the Jinx to do some decent damage on this Tentacruel, and hopefully off of this research we can go and find a Kirlia. And we get, there we go, finally getting a Kirlia and getting our engine rolling, and we can bring in Mewtwo and attach energy to Mewtwo to try and get that to 4, at which point we can one-shot anything on their board, including that Lapras, and there's still a route to get 3 prizes to win this game. Now, the Jinx is done. The Jinx is done. That's going to be bad. They play Sabrina, and that's a problem. I want to give them the Ralts here. I don't want them to damage the Mewtwo and potentially put that in a KO range on the following turn. So we give them the Ralts, but now they also have an easy KO. If they play another Sabrina, they can gust in potentially the Ralts or the Jinx for a KO. I mean, we can heal. We should heal the Kirlia here. And we do get a second Mewtwo, which could potentially tank a hit in the late game here and force them to try and knock out one of the 2 Mewtwo's. And so we get ourselves to 3 energy here. And I'm pretty sure I bench the other Mewtwo here to potentially tank a hit from whatever comes in next if they try and play that way. We have softened up the Tentacruel enough that we can knock them out. Okay, we're going to heal first with the potion on the Gardevoir to get that out of 1-hit KO range of the Lapras. We swing with the Psychic Sphere, doing 50 damage, take that KO, and at this point, we just need to... If we get one more turn and we knock out this Lapras, it's game. So we'll see what they go with. This is where I would have liked them to have tried to build up a secondary attacker and then maybe hope you can hit with Misty, because right now, like, Lapras is just not one-shotting Mewtwo and doing that extra damage, and they didn't even attach. So I think they know they're cooked at this point. We got our engine built up, and yeah, we just attach with Psy Shadow, and then we can Psy Drive and hit for 150 damage for game. So we'll take that win. Again, I'm not necessarily pleased with my play in this matchup. I screwed up a couple of turns there. Going with the Jinx over the Meowth was a mistake, but we were able to recover in time to get Gardevoir and Mewtwo rolling so that we could plow through everything in their deck. GG's. We are going first this time. And again, not the position you want to be in going first, but we do have the Meowth, and I think Meowth is going to be the optimal play here. So on turn 2, we can draw an extra card, which we very much want to do. Oh god, it's Mewtwo. Yeah, it's Mewtwo. Slowpoke. Now, this is where Mewtwo with Gardevoir is very much known as the clear optimal way of playing Mewtwo at this point in time. I'm not sure what the Slowpoke is here for though. And yeah, we put down the Jinx and the Mewtwo potentially as attackers here. Well, as attackers, and give us some options here. We do leave room for, I think I arguably should have picked Mewtwo or Jinx, and I think maybe Jinx would have been better at this juncture, and then bring in Mewtwo as a end game attacker and force them to take 4 prizes that way. Take out a Meowth, take out a Jinx, and then try and take out a Mewtwo. With only 1 spot on the bench for Gardevoir, there is potential for a Gust in the early game, and then we're just done. But, oh, again, they're not playing, at least we have not seen a Ralts in play, so the acceleration is going to be a problem here. And this is where Meowth is going to come in handy. We don't have a lot going on, and we can still draw a card, and unless they play Giovanni here, we can draw yet again another card. And I'm really hoping they don't play Giovanni here, so that we can draw some extra cards. We need to find a Ralt here, or else we are going to have a bad time. And it looks like they're building up to an Alakazam on the bench. And oh, there's the Giovanni. Oh, this is bad. Okay. So now we're very much on the back foot here with no Ralts in play. We have to, I think we're just going to try and tank hits. Like, they don't have we finally get our Ralts. They don't have an acceleration engine here. So I think we just go all in on Mewtwo and just start to build a Mewtwo up in hopes of, eventually taking that one-hit KO, taking out that Mewtwo, and then taking out whatever they have on their bench. At this point, I'm not too scared. Okay, they play the Slowpoke down, and its attack is not looking particularly promising, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The Alakazam does, I think it's 60 plus something, it's plus 30 damage for each energy your opponent has, or something along those lines. And yeah, we're just gonna try and tank hits with the Jinx here, and hopefully they don't red card us, because we have everything we need to take a KO on this. Oh yeah, so our opponent, they attach energy to the Alakazam. Wild looking art. Yeah, 60 plus 30 for each energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So this can do upwards of, yeah, this could one-hit KO a Mewtwo if we have 3 energy on it, but we're going to try to not have that magic number of 3, and that shouldn't be a problem here because we've got Gardevoir up, and we have to discard 2 in order to take a KO on this Mewtwo, which we are very much going to take advantage of. And let's go. Yeah, it's red card or not, I think just trying to avoid, and no, we end up not red carding there. We take the KO, and right now I don't see an easy way for them to take a KO. Yeah, this is where I was concerned about Sabrina here. That's why we have the other Mewtwo. At least we can potentially tank a hit with the other one. So let's see how they go about it. I'm pretty sure they play Sabrina here, which does make things a little awkward. A little awkward. They would do big damage here, but I think they recognize that if they just swing on this Mewtwo, they are going to lose. So maybe they do, maybe they don't. I feel like, yeah, there's the Sabrina, and I don't want the Gardevoir to get hit. So that's why we have the other Mewtwo in here. And that can take a hit. And yeah, they're only doing 60 damage to this because we don't have any energy attached to this Mewtwo. So that very much sucks for them. And we plan on keeping it that way. Yes, we are going to bring in... Okay, let's go and research here. Draw some cards. We get ourselves a Ralts and a Kirlia. Don't want that anymore. We will heal. Don't necessarily need to heal. This Mewtwo probably would have been better to save it, just in case. And we can Psy Shadow up to Mewtwo in the active, and then attach second energy. Hard retreat. And bring in the Mewtwo with 2 energy with the fresh HP, swing for 50, and very much bringing this in 1-hit KO range. And yeah, debating the merits of red card here. We end up going for it. Potentially just force them into a different look. They have been drawing unabated up to this point, so potentially mixing up their cards could help us get through whatever this next obstacle might be. So I think we've got them in checkmate. Like, I mean, they could Sabrina again, and they heal a little bit. They are going to be swinging pretty hard. Like, I think I think this is an interesting idea. This has worked better. I don't think the Slowpoke is any good, but the Alakazam is actually kind of interesting here, punishing those high energy decks. And I think in this particular mirror match, just not having the Gardevoir engine really hurts. So we end up just taking the win here. We can tank that hit even with the 2 energy on. They're only doing 120, and our opponent scoops there. So yeah, you can play Mewtwo with other stuff. I think that Gardevoir is very much the way to go because of that acceleration, and being able to use back-to-back side drives is massive. I think they had an interesting take with the Alakazam, and in certain other matchups that probably would have been enough, but thankfully we had the firepower to get through Alakazam. GG's. And there we go. That is a look at Mewtwo EX with Gardevoir. Again, I think this deck is very strong. It's just slow. And there will be times where it'll be temperamental. You're not going to find one of the pieces for the Gardevoir line, and that could absolutely destroy you. But a lot of the time, you are able to get your Mewtwo set up, and like just Mewtwo, between Mewtwo, Jinx, and Mouth, you can stall for time to get Gardevoir rolling and get yourself to that end game state where you are just swinging for massive damage over and over again. Even against like a Pikachu, if you can set up in time against Pikachu cannot one-shot Mewtwo EX, and you can one-shot multiple Pikachus or take out that Zapdos, no problem. So even that match isn't necessarily the worst. And this is part of why, besides the fact that these are the only good cards that I have in Pokemon TCG Pocket right now, I think that Mewtwo EX is still one of the best decks in the game. But what say you? Are you a fan of Mewtwo Gardevoir? Do you have any other ways of pairing Mewtwo with some other stuff, or pairing Gardevoir with some other stuff? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, I gotta get going. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at @InThirdPerson. You can find me on Twitch at @InThirdPerson, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm gonna have to look to see if I can. Right now, I don't have a rig for streaming Pokemon TCG Pocket, but depending on how the Pocket stuff goes, maybe we'll look into incorporating this into our streaming lineup as well. And then check out the website inthirdperson.com for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.